It's not typically been that bad.
Yeah.
I used to market in a 614.
Good evening, everyone. At this time, I'd like to call to order the August 2nd regular meeting of Gahanna City Council to order and ask for the invocation and pledge by Ms. McGregor. Please rise.
Thank you. Father God, we ask you to be with us as we make decisions for the citizens of Gahanna. We ask your blessing on the men and women of our armed and police forces, as always. Amen. And the pledge? Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Angelou?
Here.
Bowers?
Here.
Larick?
Here.
Leesburg? McGregor?
Here.
Renner?
Here.
Schnetzer?
Here. At this time, hearing of visitors, just for the record, do we have any speaker slips?
We do not.
Okay. Madam Mayor, you have a proclamation this evening?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Excuse me for a moment. I have to now get wired up here. Hold on. I think that might be on. We have a representative of the Nye family. If you want to come forward, that would be great.
For whoever.
So back in late June, I know I shared some sad news, and Councilwoman Angelou referenced that as well a few weeks ago, that we lost an outstanding member of our community, Steve Nye. And for any family who has had children who have spent any length of time in either the Hunters Ridge Pool or for the Gahanna swimming pool over the last 40 years. They've encountered Steve, and their children were taught not only valuable swimming lessons, but valuable life lessons. Steve was a ray of sunshine, a ray of positivity, always offering a word of encouragement, and I know he's impacted thousands of lives, not only of Gahanna children and youth, but children and youth around the Central Ohio area. On August 14th, we will be having Steve Nye Day at the pool. Steph, are you able to just say a few words about what that would be?
At the Gahanna swimming pool, there's going to be some specific details about that day, but it truly is a celebration of his life. And I'm sorry. All the accomplishments that he's done for the community, his efforts will not be lost, and the time and commitment that he served to the community will carry on. So, like I said, more details about that day will come forward, but it will be a celebration of his life on August 14th at the Gahanna swimming pool. So, thank you.
So with that, I have a proclamation that will declare August 14th, Steve Nye Day here in Gahanna. I'm not going to read it because Steve's accomplishments are very long. However, I want to highlight just a few things. Steve's a beloved husband to his wife Julie, a loving father to their 3 daughters, Lauren, Victoria, and Alexandra, a dedicated brother, and a treasured friend to many. He dedicated his life to building a community-focused, athlete-first culture in the Gahanna and Central Ohio swim communities. Steve was the head coach of the Greater Columbus swim team of Ohio for over 40 years, during which time he worked with and supported thousands of Gahanna children and youths, not only teaching them the skills of swimming, but also lifetime skills that will lead them in cultivating relationships and pursuing their dreams. I was very surprised to know that Steve was awarded the Ohio Swimming Senior Coach of the Year 8 times. He coached more than 40 U.S. senior national qualifiers, 54 junior national qualifiers, 20 U.S. Olympic trial qualifiers, 20 world-ranked swimmers, and 2 Olympians. And if you've been watching TV lately, you know just how significant of an accomplishment that is. And through his work with GCSTO, Steve closely partnered with our Gahanna Department of Parks and Recreation, assisting in managing the Gahanna Sea Lions at the swimming pool, as well as teaching thousands of children how to actually survive in the water. Steve's often said statement that the key to life isn't to think outside the box, but rather to realize that there is no box, is reflective of the positive attitude and genuine encouragement that he freely shared, using his passion for swimming as a vehicle to share his passion for helping people. So with that, therefore I, Laurie A. Jadwin, Mayor of the City of Gahanna, Ohio, ask our Gahanna citizens to join in recognizing and honoring the memory of Steve Nye and his dedication and selfless commitment to Gahanna children and youth, and do hereby proclaim August 14th, 2021 as Steve Nye Day.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Nye's contributions to the community is just the beginning, so thank you for that. At this time, would ask to move to Section D, the consent agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Renner. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Renner, seconded by Ms. Bowers. Roll call?
Renner?
Yes.
Bowers? Yes. Lyric?
Yes.
McGregor?
Yes.
Schnetzer?
Yes.
Angelou?
Yes.
Motion carries. We have a motion or ask for a motion for to fill the position on the open council position on the Board of Zoning and Building Appeals. Is there a motion to appoint any individual?
Mr. Chair, I'll move to nominate Mr. Ross Beckman to the BZBA.
We have a motion to nominate Mr. Beckman, Ross Beckman. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Schnetzer and seconded by Mr. Renner. Any discussion? Roll call?
Schnetzer,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
McGregor,
Yes.
Larick,
Yes.
Angelou,
Yes.
Bowers. Yes.
Motion carries. Item F, ordinances for introduction and first reading. I would ask for an introduction of the items under F.
Mr. President, I'll introduce the items under Section F.
Thank you. And item G, ordinances for introduction, waiver of second, and emergency adoption. We have ordinance 0048-2021, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into contract with Astro Pool Company for the construction of a splash pad at Gahanna Swimming Pool, waive second reading, and adopt as an emergency. Is there a motion per the title?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Schnetzer. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Bowers. Any discussion?
Just briefly, I
Yes.
know we discussed this, President, we discussed this at the committee meeting. I did want to thank Director Farrell for explaining the process and particularly why there was one bid on this. I think that was an important discussion to have, so thank you for bringing that to our attention. I do want to reiterate that I can't tell you how many times I've heard how important this is to families, particularly young families over us on the west side and the Goshen area, those who frequent the Gahanna pool. So I think this is going to be a real asset to families with young children in Gahanna. So thank you to the administration and Director of Parks and Rec. Thank you.
Thank you. And my only comment is with regard to making sure that we continue to focus on our pools as a part of the integrated redevelopment of our downtown core parks facilities. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Schnetzer,
Yes.
Bowers. Yes. McGregor,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
Angelou,
Yes.
Larick.
Yes. Motion carries. Correspondence and actions, Madam Clerk.
Yes, as part of the agenda, there's a file 2021-0150, and that contains a resolution for an expedited 2 annexation from the Torres family. We last saw this in, it was Resolution 16, 2021 for council files. We approved a resolution for services. So this is just that next step. And the city's required to have a 60-day waiting period before making any, passing any legislation on it. So I expect that it'll come back to a committee meeting September 19th, tentatively.
Okay. Thank you. Council? And representatives. Mr. Leesburg is not here this evening. The next activity of the CIC will be the meeting on August 24th here at City Hall. Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, Ms. Angelou.
Thank you, Mr. Larick. Our next meeting, the executive committee meeting, is this Thursday when we will say welcome home because we haven't been there for over a year and almost a half. And it's a very different home than it was when they left, all of our commission members as well as our employees and our wonderful directors. It's been completely redone, and it's an exciting thing to see. And then the next week, the next Thursday, we'll be back again. I'm going to actually, I think, make the song of the month is Don't Stop Thinking About Tomorrow. Yesterday's gone, and we're going to be really happy to be in our new place, and we are definitely a family. So I'm looking forward to both of those things. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Angelou. Commission and Visitor Bureau, Mr. Leesburg's not here. Mayor, do you have any update? by chance?
I know they are continuing with the midweek at the Creek events. I think there's a Joey and Julia's playing this Wednesday, and they're continuing to work with Creekside District Alliance and our Department of Parks and Recreation in that. Right now, I think they are mostly getting ready for the Creekside Blues and Jazz Festival, September 17, 18, and 19. And they also are doing several promotions with the Ohio Herb Center. I have a touch base every month with Ms. Kappas, the executive director there, so that we can align our marketing and promotional efforts there. So I think that about covers it.
Thank you. And School Board, Mr. Schnetzer.
Yeah, very briefly, maybe stealing a little bit of the mayor's thunder here with regard to the continued discussions with Gahanna Jefferson School District regarding the school compensation agreement. I believe there is an internal deadline by the end of the week to propose to the working group a draft new agreement, and that should serve as the basis for further discussions with our partners and at the schools. And as soon as we have a further update, I'll be sure to keep the group here apprised.
Thank you. And official reports, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Just a few things to share tonight. Hopefully, Council all received an email link. Our Gahanna Division of Police published their annual report, the 2020 annual report. I can resend that if you have not, if maybe it was buried in another email, I'll be happy to resend that to you. The report gives a full scope and overview of the department's operations, data, metrics with regard to everything from crash details to arrests, tickets, with demographics. It really is an extremely internal view of what that organization does on a daily basis. I commend Chief Spence and Deputy Chief Lawless. I know he and the leadership team at the Division of Police worked very hard in gathering all of that information and then partnering with our communications and marketing team to finalize that report. It's very long, but it's a good read. It's like a good mystery novel, but it has a great ending. But there's a lot of information there. Again, the report is available on the website at gahanna.gov. So I encourage you to take a look at that and reach out to Chief Spence if you have any questions. And we're very excited that tomorrow evening the division will be able to have a return of National Night Out. That will be held from 5:30 to 8 p.m. tomorrow at Sun Point Park. So we'll have division members will be there. We'll have some of the vehicles, from the SWAT vehicles to police cruisers, et cetera. I think our Parks and Recs team will have games and activities as well as free food. So we invite the community to join in the event, National Night Out tomorrow, 5:30 to 8 p.m. at Sun Point Park, and come and meet some of our division members. Also coming up, this is a busy week here in Gahanna. This Saturday, Pelotonia, for the first time in its history, will be traveling through Gahanna. They'll be coming from Fifth Avenue by the airport, up northbound on Hamilton Road, then they'll head east on Tech Center, take a rest stop in a Tech Center Drive parking lot, and then come out on Taylor Road and head east that way. So if you're traveling in that area, please be cognizant of the fact that there will be a lot of bicyclists on that parcel.
You said north on Hamilton, east on Tech.
And then crossing Morrison over Tech Center, I think they have a rest stop at Columbus MEPS, that property, and then exiting onto Taylor Road from that property, heading east on Taylor, and then up Taylor Station Road, up that way. The window for that is kind of widespread, anytime pretty much from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. But again, it's a great event for the community. We're excited to welcome those riders through our city. Also on Saturday, you might have seen the orange signs back out on the road for the Classic Car Show, the Vets, Rods, and Classics. Down in the Creekside District, Mill Street will be closed Saturday, and that event runs from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. We're excited for the return of that great event. Really is organized by Mark Thomas, many of you know and love, and that's a great fundraiser for Nationwide Children's Hospital. So the weather should be great for that, and looking forward to the return of that event. And then coming up September 4th, that's Saturday of Labor Day weekend, we'll be supporting Gahanna Together Day. You remember we started that event last year really as an event to raise the spirits of the community and bring everyone together during COVID. We had a lot of wonderful community service projects. So we are looking for volunteer projects as well as volunteers for that day. I know the West Side Community West Pride Day is going to be scheduled on that same day, so we can bring them into that event as well. Last year, I think I was painting the Lilystone Bed and Breakfast with the Historical Society, so we're looking for perhaps maybe completing at least one wall in the historical settlement this year. So more information on that event will be available at gahanna.gov. And then finally, I was asked to share Creekside Hops and Vines tickets are on sale. We know how popular that event is, and that event is October 2nd. And tickets are available at gahannaprf.org. And then finally, just a couple of informational things. Pool operations. Gahanna Swimming Pool's last day of operation will be August 11th. That's next Wednesday because school starts. I hate to say that. I'm really sorry for the kids. August 12th and August 13th, Hunters Ridge Pool will be closed. Starting the weekend of August 14th, only Hunters Ridge Pool will be open from 12 to 6 p.m., and that schedule will continue every weekend through Labor Day. And then Hunters Ridge Pool's last day of operation will be September 6th. One piece of information I wanted to share, Councilwoman Angelou asked me to just pass along some information. She and I have been in ongoing contact about source of income legislation. Both she and I have had several reach outs and inquiries regarding the implementation of such legislation within the city. I think Councilwoman Bowers also has been asking about that as well. We really need to understand that legislation specifically with regard to what Gahanna's needs in the community are. So we are working, our development department is actually looking into that and gathering research, and we will be sending out a survey to landlords within the Gahanna community to understand how they currently serve their tenants, and so we, and again, understand what the needs of our community are and whether that type of legislation would make sense. So more to come on that once we get the survey out in the coming weeks. We'll keep you updated. COVID, certainly with the increase in the Delta variant, guidelines and recommendations are changing almost daily again. We find ourselves in that situation. We have no change to our operations at this time, though we will continue to monitor the recommendations and guidelines that come out. And if we receive a recommendation or guideline that mandates that we make a change in our operations, we will let you know that and keep you apprised of that. But for right now, status quo. Finally, in addition to Mr. Nye's proclamation, I also issued a proclamation recognizing August, the month of August, is National Black Business Month. So Gahanna within the Central Ohio community is the 6th most diverse community, but we have quite a large number, over hundreds of Black-owned businesses in our community. So I know our communications and marketing team will be shining a spotlight on some of those very special businesses in our community, and we will be urging our residents and our visitors here to patronize those businesses well and recognize the Black businesses that are such an important part of our economic base here in the city. And with that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Mularski, City Attorney.
Thank you. If you remember about 30 days ago probably, I had told you that the Speedway transportation case that was filed in federal court in which they claimed that they were discriminated against, it was dismissed on the pleadings, meaning they didn't even state a claim against the city. At the 30-day window, they did file an appeal, which is pretty much expected because a dismissal on the pleadings is a dismissal with prejudice, meaning it can't be refiled at all. So if they don't win on appeal, they don't have a chance. So that has been refiled, and we are going to be arguing it. So that's all.
Thank you. And moving to item K, council comment, Mrs. Angelou.
It's nice to see people here in person, and I just feel so much more at home than when we were doing our virtual things. And so I hope all of you appreciate the fact that we missed you. And we want to be able to be a part of this whole community and be able to tell you the things that we believe is best for our community, and hopefully we're right. So that's all I have, and I hope everybody has a nice rest of this week. I do have an anniversary this Friday, and it's number 55. So many people will hope that they can get to that point. I'm lucky to have done that, been able to have a marriage of 55 years. So you can send presents now or later.
What is that? It's not, is it a gold? Platinum?
I don't know what it is.
Ms. Bowers.
Yes, thank you. I will have attached to the minutes my constituent reports, both for the month of June and for July. It was a busy month, and thank you to all the constituents who reached out with questions or issues that they were interested in or have an interest in. Definitely a lot of Parks and Rec related issues, and thanks very much to our Parks and Rec department for always entertaining my emails so promptly. I appreciate it very much. And I think just wanted to wish everyone a safe back to school. I think that the district starts back on the 12th, so I know it'll be busy back at the intersection at Granville and Hamilton Road, so just be mindful of students crossing the street as they phase back in. And I think everything else I was going to say has already been said, so thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Renner?
Yes, thank you. I do have a couple of things I want to say, and I'm trying to actually contain some of my emotions, so bear with me, please. I think Councilwoman Angelou said it really best just a second ago, that we're really grateful to actually be back in the dais and actually see people back. This is part of the meeting of community, and actually to see faces and sometimes new faces, and to really be able to connect. As I have been walking around and connecting with my ward. And then this dovetails with the proclamation this evening. Mayor, thank you very deeply much for the proclamation for Mr. Nye and the family. Thank you. It is paramount to community that not only do we have the milkman and the butler at the butcher and the grocery stores, but we have people that are dedicated to a cause, and we have people that are not only dedicated to a cause, but they are what actually builds our community. It's not us, these people that are sitting up here, but it is you, and it is Mr. Nye, and thank you so much for everything, that the sacrifices that you've made for and his cause when he was away teaching all the students and the swimmers and our community. I cannot ever say it enough. Thank you. And thank you to all the other community leaders that step up for a cause that is the cause of, in our case, Gahanna. Yesterday was going to be just a normal Sunday afternoon for me, a summer Sunday afternoon. And I had some errands to run before I go out and knock on doors again. And I was going to run up the street in my ward. I go to the local pharmacy. They have other knickknacks in there, and that's why I was going there. I got delayed. Because neighbors, they came out. They said, Mr. Renner, before you go, I need a few minutes of your time. I get down the road, I pull into CVS. There are 3 squads, and there's yellow tape covering the front door. Very scary situation. I turned around, I left. I find out later that it was held up at gunpoint. I would have been there. It's not so much that I don't talk about public safety issues, that I think our chief does an admirable job. But it's one of those moments that it wakes you up. You hear, at the county, I've taken several orders of training when you have active shooters, when you have different scenarios. But when it happens in your home, that's a level of difference, and it was a wake up. And I'm going to be much more active in Ward 1. On that note, National Night Out, thank you, Mayor, for making sure that is out there. I've publicized that. I will definitely be out there, and I hope that everybody does get out to the community and go see our wonderful park, Sun Point Park on the west side, and then at the same time hang out with the officers and hear it straight from them, the duty that they serve in our community. And then one final note is actually, Mayor, thank you. I was going to work and I saw a crane with a cherry picker and somebody painting all our street poles on Granville, the 62 area, and I was grateful. It's no longer the galvanized steel poles, but now the green that we've all come to love. And I saw even down Stigler, there's painting happening. So thank you very much for that as well. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schnetzer.
Yeah, so Madam Mayor, if there's an opportunity for that Labor Day event for some creek stomping, I can certainly volunteer my kindergarten-age children to make sure that
writing it
they
down
have
right
some
now.
fun. It'll be difficult to keep them out of there, I'm sure. On a more somber note, to the Nye family, my deepest sympathies. You know, I lost my own father a couple years ago to a similar health matter, and I know how devastating that can be. Hopefully you find some comfort in the many lives that Steve touched, and the lasting legacy that will endure. We should all be so lucky to have lived such a rich and full life. That's it for me.
Thank you. Ms. McGregor.
Thank you. This winter, I had 4 grandchildren who took swimming lessons and were on the swim team with Mr. Nye up at Columbus Academy. And I really appreciated all the efforts he made to keep those avenues open for the kids to exercise and be able to have that opportunity through COVID. And he had strict rules, and everybody followed him, and everybody was safe. And I really appreciated that. I think teaching children to swim is so critical. I can't think of another sport that really teaches a life skill that you can rely on for your whole life. I mean, you can learn to toss a ball and play baseball, but I mean, you learn to swim, you can save your life sometime. Being part of a swim team takes those beginning skills and builds endurance and improves the basic skills that they get in learning to swim. And 7 of my grandchildren swam on Foxborough team this summer, and it's not a super competitive, but they all increase their ability and their endurance. And I tell people that all the time. It's one thing to learn to swim, but being on a swim team, you really learn endurance. So if you fall off a boat or you fall into a pool, you can not only learn to float, but you can swim, a fair distance and maybe save yourself. So I think that he will long be remembered by many, many students, and I think that's something. I know it's a very hard time, but be comforted that he is thought well of by so many people. Thank you.
Thank you. Couple of notes. One is just, and it's some old news, but for those who are not aware, the sign is up and the Gahanna Library is open at Rocky Fork Plaza. So if anybody sees that the library is closed, it has simply temporarily moved while they build the new facility. And to be clear with regard to our pools, they are open today through no small part due to Mr. Nye. Back in 13, 14, 17, there were significant discussions around continuing operations of the pools. Worked hand in hand with Steve and quite a number of people who were adamant and made very clear the value that the pools and the facilities bring to the community. And continue to thank him for that time and effort. And that is all that I have this evening. I don't believe we have an executive session, and so would ask for adjournment by unanimous consent.
So moved.
Thank you.